Everyone, it's Nicole. This is my first scrapbook process video, so I'm just showing you some of the products I'm going to use to do the page. It's going to be called a New York Skyline. So it's all from the Studio Calico kit for the January kit. So I'm using some mists, some stamps, and also some products from the older kits, some embellishments. I did buy the digital products and I cut them all up. And I have some washi tape out which I didn't end up using, and some buttons which I also didn't end up using. So first I'm going to cut off a mat, a black mat around the photos. And then I'm going to start choosing some pattern papers. I'm going to go with this blue, and I'm going to cut it off so that I don't waste any pattern paper in behind the photo. And I'm also going to go for this white pattern paper, white and blue. I'm going to mirror image on both sides. Everything I'm going to do on one side, I'm going to do on the other. So I'm going to use some of that arrow paper. And I've already tried recording this once, so hopefully this time it works. The last time it stopped after 4 minutes. So this is the border strip. So I'm just going to cut it in 4 and make a border on each side. And I'm going through to find some labels or anything to layer. I end up choosing this little circle that says Love You is from the digital kit, and I'm going to choose a label. What I do is I cut it out so then I don't have to glue it down right away. And I'm going to choose some enamel dots that I'm going to be using. I'm finding some Prima hearts and a wooden arrow, also from the kit. And then I'm going to go in my stash and choose a little wood veneer heart. And that's a journaling card that I bought from Studio Calico. It comes 60 in a pack. It was a little too tall, so I just cut it down to fit. And I also cut the doily in 3 so that I could fit part of it at the top and part of it at the bottom. And then I'm going to work on an embellishment cluster at the top right. Basically all I'm doing is looking at what papers I used and making sure there's a little bit of each paper. And I'm choosing some teal brads that were in a past kit. And then not quite sure, looking to see if there's any other papers I could use. I decide on using this grid-like paper, so I'm going to punch it out. And I'm going to It's the postal stamp, so I'm just going to make a little border for each side. And this one's a little too short, so I'm going to punch it out of the big sheet of paper. And then I'm going to cut it down to size. And I'm using some for the top cluster also. Not quite sure what I'm doing here. Oh, looking for a mat for my pictures. So I'm going to use that matte paper. And just kind of seeing how everything's coming along. I only start gluing once I pretty much have all the layout figured out. So I'm stamping a circle that says Love This Memory and also the arrows on my label. It's with some Hero Art ink. I'm not quite sure of the color, but it's the teal color. And I'm going to cut out that circle for an embellishment. And I'm going to look for stickers. I am going to cut out that gray bubble speech, but I'm not going to end up using it. I like cutting the sticker right off the sticker sheet. That way I'm not committed. So if I change my mind, I can just put it back in my stash. So now I'm looking for some letters and I'm going to spell out New York skyline. Skyline, I'm going to do it in the black thickers. It's sort of a black with white polka dots, small polka dots. And then the blue is a Studio Calico exclusive for the kit. I can't remember if it's for the main kit or if it was for the Project Life kit, but it was one of the kits. And those letters are so tiny, they're so hard to work with. So I think I like it right there. It's on the picture a bit, but there's quite a bit of water there, so I'm okay with that. And I'm going to cut 3 little pieces of twine, black and white twine. And then I decide on that flare. It says, from the kit, it actually says New York. I'm still looking to see if there's any more embellishment. And then I snap a few pics with my iPhone just to make sure I don't forget where everything was. And now I'm going to ink everything in black. And I think it's not the Tim Holtz Distress ink. I actually use the Memento ink. So I'm going to ink everything, all the edges in black. This layout actually took me an hour and a half, which is quite amazing. And I think it's because the camera was rolling, because usually I scrapbook for a little bit, I walk away, go do a little chores, come back, scrapbook some more. Not quite sure if I like it, so walk away. So I can actually work on a layout for a whole day. And where the camera was rolling, I actually got it done in an hour and a half. So I was really impressed. So I ended up misting my pages with a couple of glimmer glaze and 1 glimmer mist. And I really like that glimmer maze. It's I read on it yesterday, it's actually like a paint, but it doesn't soak up on the paper. That's what I like. It's shiny when you're done, and it stays in a perfect circle. It doesn't absorb in the paper whatsoever. So I'm just using my ruler to line up everything. That's the only thing about cutting everything in half. It's a little bit harder to line up, but it's doable. So I'm going to add my journaling card also, and then I'm going to start gluing down my pieces, and I'm using my favorite glue, wet glue, quick dry adhesive, and I'm just inking a few things that I forgot to ink. And right here is when my battery died, so I had to wait a couple of hours for my battery to charge. So I'm just showing you that I did finish gluing the strips down because it was the same as the first one. So while the camera was off, I did finish doing that. So now I'm inking my hearts with Jenny Bolin cough syrup ink with the dabber or dauber. And I'm also gonna ink up my wood veneer heart. Just checking how everything's gonna fit. And I'm gonna start gluing down the top cluster. I really love those doilies from Studio Calico. They have the 4-inch and the 6-inch. They have it in white. I think it'd be kind of neat to have them in different colors. Although, I mean, you could miss these ones and make them whatever color you want. But I do like the white. So I'm just going to glue down the strips of paper. And again, I'm just, whatever paper I used on the layout, I just kind of cut little strips to just kind of bring that to the top of the layer or top of the page. So that was the strip that I punched out. Glue all that down. It's kind of sticking up on the top of the page there, but I'm gonna cut that out. go. So now I'm going to add some foam tape to that circle to give it a bit of dimension. It's the foam tape from Stampin' Up. And now I'm going to add the date, and I'm going to be looking at my phone here in a minute just to find out exactly what date we were there. I knew it was on a Friday, the week that we had gone, but I couldn't remember the date. So I'm going to stamp it in black Memento ink, and I'm going to stamp it 3 times. Now I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. Oh, I'm adding some adhesive to the twine so I can add it to my page. I find that's the easiest way to add twine to your page, although the first twine I put down I'm having quite a bit of trouble with it. It just didn't want to stick, but I eventually get it to stick. I can't quite figure out where I want it to go either because I don't want it to hide my little arrow stamp. So I finally get it to stick down. It actually works quite good. I'm impressed with how well it sticks it down. So I'm going to add some more foam tape to my other circle embellishment, and I'm going to have a hard time getting the backing off. I found these foam tape in my stash, so I think they've been there quite a bit, so I think they're quite old. Having a bit of difficulty removing them, but I really like them. They're not super thick, so they give just a bit of dimension without too much. I don't find they're good for the flare buttons, but for just regular embellishments, I really like it. So I'm going to remove the tape backing from the heart, and I'm going to add some extra glue because I don't find that they stick well without it. And then I'm going to go work on the top part of the embellishment, I believe. I think I totally forgot that I had 2 more pieces of twine to glue down, so I'm actually going to finish putting everything down and then I'll come back to the twine. So I'm going to add that flare button, and I did add a bigger square foam tape. It's thicker. I'm going to end up ripping that up because I want the heart to go in front of it, so then it's like Love New York, because on the flare it says New York. End up ripping the paper, but you can't tell because I put the heart over it, and I'm okay with it. Now I'm going to, I believe, add my brads. Nope, I'm going to add some enamel dots. So I do like to add quite a bit of layers. I just keep adding stuff until I find that it's overkill. And I usually go to my trusty stuff: brads, enamel dots, wood veneers, twine. Didn't use any washi tape. Usually I use quite a bit of washi tape. Right now I'm looking for my foam to put in the brads. I still haven't found it. I don't know where it is, so I end up getting this one here. It's more for embossing, dry embossing, so I'm going to have a hard time piercing through the paper. End up at one spot actually tearing or pushing through the paper. So I'm going to add 3 brads, 1 in each cluster. I add 2 small ones and 1 medium one. The one in the middle is going to be a medium brad. So I'm using my We Are Memory Keeper brad setter tool. I really like it. It's I used to, every time I open the legs on the brads, stick the brads under my nails, and I used to hate it. So I really like this tool because it actually opens the brad legs without injuring myself. That's a good thing. And right here is where when I try to set the brad, I actually push right through with the brad setter and make a hole in the page, but it's all good. I just kind of turn the page over and smooth the paper down, and because there's distressing there, you can't really tell. So now I'm gonna put my tools away, because after a while there's so much on my desk that I don't know where anything is. Like, I ended up losing one of those pieces of twine. I cut 3, and I only ever found 2, so I don't know where that third one went, so I have to cut another one. So here I have one of those tabs, and I always cut them in half because, I mean, the back part just goes up against the page, so I find it's a waste. So, and I'm going to staple it down with my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher. I love that thing. I don't think I've ever had it once clog up and not staple right. And I mean, usually staplers, you have, I know for me, I always have so much trouble with them, but that one, it just works really well. I really like it. So I'm going to add my title and trying to line it up so that it's touching the photos, so that it doesn't seem like it's floating. It's actually anchored to the layout. And then I'm going to add my smaller title, and I'm going to grab my X-Acto knife here in a minute because those letters are awfully tiny and they're really hard to handle. And I couldn't remember where my tweezers were, so craft knife works okay. So I'm going to arrange it so that each word is on top of the other, and the NYC in New York City is all in a row. So I'm going to fiddle with the title for a little bit. So like I said, the first time I recorded this, I don't know why, I did the whole recording and it said recording the whole time, and when I went to look at it, there was only 4 minutes recorded, so I hope that this time it's going to work out. And then I'll be able to upload it to YouTube. So I found there wasn't enough splatter, so I'm just adding some paper bag to my photo, and I'm just going to add a few more drops with the glimmer glaze. And then I'm going to add the rest of the twine. So I'm going to put some in the middle cluster, and then I'm going to put some on the top cluster. And while the camera was off, I also did my journaling. I just talked about while we were on the cruise. I mean, it was beautiful and we absolutely loved it, but we were well aware that the original Twin Towers weren't there, and that was one of the main reasons that my second daughter, she had wanted to go to New York. She was 8 years old when it happened, 9/11, and it really affected her like it affected a lot of people, but she was so young and she wanted to go and just remember the people that died in that incident. So we really, really enjoyed our trip. We didn't get to see everything that we wanted to see, but I'm sure we're going to go again, and here I show you a close-up, so thanks for watching.